This is Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate, the podcast where we cover home buying, home selling, home improvement tips and ideas, market trends and developments, and investing in real estate. If you own real estate in the Chattanooga, Tennessee area, or want to own real estate here, then you're in the right place. Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate is hosted by Blake Watson, a real estate agent and investor in Tennessee and Georgia.
Welcome to Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate. I'm Blake Watson with Epic Realty, and today we're discussing one of the biggest forces that's shaping our housing market right now here in Chattanooga, and that is migration. Who's moving to Chattanooga, where are they coming from, where people are leaving Chattanooga to go, and what the newest 2024 and 2025 data tells us about why Chattanooga keeps showing up on the national radar. And I'm recording this during the holiday season. It's just a few days before Christmas, and thinking about how so many people come to town to visit family, and many people traveling through Chattanooga that are just passing through and going elsewhere to visit with family and spend some time with the holidays. And I know from the data that a lot of these folks are thinking about moving to Chattanooga. There are a lot of people in America thinking about Chattanooga as their next home. Now, this episode is based on some current data. I'm not using census data that's pretty outdated now, 3 or 4 years ago, and not any pandemic-era guesses, but this is real-world moving behavior tracked through early 2025. Let's start with the headline. Chattanooga is officially one of America's top destination cities in 2025. And by that, I mean a destination to move to. According to the PODS Moving Trends Report, which analyzes net long-distance moves between January 2024 and March of 2025, Chattanooga made the list of the top 20 U.S. cities people are moving to. And it wasn't even on the list the year before. And this list isn't based on web searches or surveys. No, it's based on actual people packing up containers and relocating their lives. And Chattanooga didn't just sneak onto the list. It joined a group dominated by southeastern cities, particularly cities in Tennessee and the Carolinas. So let's zoom out for a moment. 2/3 of all long-distance moves in 2025 ended up in Sunbelt states, with the Southeast absolutely dominating the rankings. Tennessee alone placed 4 cities on the top move-in list. That's Chattanooga, Knoxville, Nashville, and Johnson City, making Tennessee one of the most popular states to move to in the entire country right now. That's not a fluke, and it's not just pandemic-related. No, this report is making it clear that we're entering a more stable phase of migration, where certain regions, especially the Southeast, are showing long-term staying power. Now, let's talk specifically about Chattanooga. Why here? Why now? And when you combine this PODS data with 2024 county-level migration estimates, the picture becomes clearer. Hamilton County added roughly 3,000 net new residents from domestic migration in 2024 alone. That's people moving to Hamilton County from somewhere else within the United States. And then when you add on international migration on top of domestic migration, we have more than 4,500 newcomers to Hamilton County when you include both domestic and international migration. This means people are choosing Chattanooga in meaningful numbers, even in a higher interest rate environment. Migration like that creates households, and households create housing demand. That's one of the main reasons our real estate market really hasn't cooled off the way some have expected it to. So where are all these newcomers coming from? Well, regionally, Georgia is still the number one source of new residents that move to Chattanooga, especially from the Atlanta metro area, folks moving north to Chattanooga. Now, these are often short to mid-distance moves driven by affordability, maybe fatigue with traffic, although we've got plenty of traffic here, and some other lifestyle choices too. We all know that Chattanooga is a very desirable place to come live. People want to stay close enough to family or work connections, but they want more breathing room, and Chattanooga certainly checks that box. Beyond Georgia, Florida continues to play a major role in migration, but this is where that 2025 data really becomes more important and adds some nuance to this. Florida is not the migration juggernaut it was just a few years ago. The PODS report shows that Florida has cooled significantly. There's only 2 cities, Ocala and Jacksonville, that are making that move-in list in 2025. Just a few years ago, there were 6 cities in Florida that made the move-in list. Instead, Florida now has cities appearing on the move-out list, and there are some important reasons for that. Rising insurance costs and housing prices are up more than 60% since 2020, and of course the increased hurricane risk. This is all causing many residents to reassess the value of staying in Florida. And that's why a lot of people are moving out of Florida, many of them coming to Southeast Tennessee. Chattanooga benefits directly from that shift. We're far enough inland to reduce the insurance and climate risk that the Floridians are dealing with, but we still offer the mild winters, outdoor access, and a lower cost of living compared to coastal states. North Carolina and South Carolina are also major states that are impacted with migration, and that shows up clearly in this 2025 ranking. Cities like Raleigh, Charlotte, Greenville, Spartanburg, and Asheville, they all appear on the move-in list, although Asheville slipped significantly after it had all the infrastructure damage from the 2024 hurricane season. And what's interesting is that Chattanooga is competing directly with these cities, not with New York or Los Angeles, but with other high-quality, mid-sized southeastern markets. And in that competition, Chattanooga is holding its own. Now let's talk about where people are leaving. Where is the migration exodus coming from? The PODS report is crystal clear. The cities people are leaving in the greatest numbers are overwhelmingly large, expensive coastal metros. And that's going to be Los Angeles and Northern California, top of the list. That's followed by South Florida, Long Island, San Diego, and Chicago. California alone counts for 7 of the top 20 move-out cities, and high housing costs, high taxes, congestion, natural disaster risk, insurance costs. We know all that. It's driving people out, and many of them are choosing cities like Chattanooga instead. We have more Californians who've moved to the Chattanooga area than ever before in history. And this is important for real estate because people leaving those markets often arrive with equity. They've sold an expensive home and they're relocating to more affordable regions. And that buying power has a real impact on home prices and the competition for homes here, especially in desirable neighborhoods and newer construction. But what about people that are leaving Chattanooga? Let's talk about that. The data suggests most don't go very far. People moving from Chattanooga to somewhere else typically relocate in Tennessee or Georgia. Nashville and Atlanta are common destinations, particularly for younger professionals. And among young adults, roughly 3/4 stay in or near the Chattanooga area long term. And this is very different than in the 20th century. Back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, people wanted to move out of Chattanooga and leave. So all of our young folks would graduate high school or college and move on and go somewhere else, go to another city. But that has changed significantly. The data is showing us that Chattanooga isn't bleeding residents. It's retaining them while still attracting newcomers. Mortgage rates certainly continue to play a role in all of this. Rates in the early part of 2025 were really right around 7%. They hovered in the high 6s and 7%. And now that's a little bit lower. We're really hovering right above 6%, maybe 6 1/8, right in that range. Mortgage rates have certainly slowed some of the moves in other parts of the country, but it hasn't stopped people from relocating to more affordable markets. So someone moving from a high-cost housing market like Los Angeles is able to move to an affordable market like Chattanooga, and the interest rate is not going to make a big difference to them. In fact, the higher rates often accelerate moves away from expensive areas where the affordability is already very stretched. And we know beyond the economic reasons that Chattanooga is a very attractive city for work, for play, for lifestyle, for neighbors, all of it. It's a great place to live. You know, last year about this time, I had a conversation on the podcast. It's actually the November 26, 2024 episode number 45. It was an interview with Derek Dawes of Dawes Hospitality Group, and he was talking with me about the tourism impact on Chattanooga and on housing in Chattanooga. And the theme really was, it all starts with a visit. And he gave me several stories of people who had come to Chattanooga just for a visit. That's why I'm saying people even traveling this week to visit with family. And you come for a visit and you decide to stay, or decide this is where I'm going to move. And that regularly has been happening. The hospitality professionals in Chattanooga tourism certainly recognize that. And that idea of it all starts with a visit is really what helps drive so much desire to move to Chattanooga. If you want to listen to that episode, again, it's with Derek Dawes. It's November 26, 2024, episode number 45 on Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate. So what does all of this mean for you if you live here, or you own a home here, or you're thinking about moving here? Well, first, it reinforces that Chattanooga's growth is not random and it's not temporary. It's part of a broader, long-term migration pattern that's favoring mid-sized southeastern cities that have lower costs, access to nature, and quality of life. Second, it explains why housing demand remains resilient. Migration doesn't stop just because interest rates rise. It shifts, but it does continue. And third, it tells us that Chattanooga is now competing nationally, not just regionally, for residents, and we are winning. If you're a homeowner, this migration story supports long-term demand and values. If you're a buyer, it explains why competition still exists and why waiting for the market to crash is not a good strategy at all. And if you're considering a move to Chattanooga, you're clearly part of a much bigger trend. You're not alone. If you'd like to talk more about these migration patterns, how they affect your home, the value of your home, your neighborhood, and whether you're planning to sell your home or you're wanting to buy a home and you're maybe just wanting to move, maybe you're wanting to move here, I'd love to talk with you. You can reach me, Blake Watson with Epic Realty, on my cell phone, 423-315-1815. You can visit my website, athomechattanooga.com. That's athomechattanooga.com, or connect with me on Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm Blake Watson on both of those platforms. And on Instagram, I'm Rock and Roll Blake. My office phone is 888-893-3537. Thanks for listening to Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate.